Okay, well, it's a good thing I stopped it because literally my doctor called me at that exact moment. Okay, so here's where it gets juicy. Okay, so the other stuff was kind of a background. So I'm getting dumped on the phone during my pedicure. Let me set the stage again. So my ex claims, you know, so he starts off really great, he's like, oh, did you want to get married? Because I really don't. Like, he literally just starts like that. So I'm kind of like, okay, that's weird because the only person talking about marriage and babies, like making a huge deal, was my ex. So then, I'm like, okay, like that's not what you want. I kind of thought that's what you want because you kept bringing it up, right? Not me though, not me. Um, you kept bringing it up, and then he's like, no, like I don't want to do that. So I'm like literally speechless at this point. Like I'm in shock, and mind you, I'm getting my pedicure, so I can't scream like how I really kind of like later thought about I wanted to. So like I feel like the lady doing my toes was like, oh, this bitch is getting dumped. Like I feel like you could just hear it. Um, but yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm literally speechless right now. Like my heart like dropped to my stomach, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm so shook by this. Like I'm so surprised. Um, because so I didn't say I was blindsided, but I was blindsided. Like I'm saying that like in the video now. But I said I am so shocked. Like I literally like this came out of nowhere for me. And then my ex goes, I know, I know, I know, I know. Like over and over. And then I'm just like, I'm so confused right now. Like, I'm so flustered. I have a lot of questions, but none of them are coming out because I can't even breathe. So I did say that part. And then Max is like, I know. Like, and then I think he's like, yeah, do you have any questions for me? And I was like, yeah, like, what possessed you to do this? And he was like, oh, I think we just have so he said, I think we just have different values. So I'm like, okay. Still can't breathe at this point. He said, we have different values. And then I'm like, okay. I'm like, can you give me an example of these different values? Like 1 year and 9 months in. And then he's like, oh, I think we have differing views on abortion. And I'm like, abortion? Let me just tell y'all right now. I've never been pregnant. And if I've never been pregnant, me and him have never been pregnant. So what the actual fuck? So I'm really confused. What I will say though is we did have conversations about politics 1 year ago, 1 year before this breakup. We had conversation about politics, and you know what the conversation was? My ex said, hey, what are your, like, we were talking about hella other stuff. Like, we were talking about, like, Black Lives Matter and, like, everything. And so, like, I don't know how abortion came up, but he asked me, like, oh, like, what did I think of, like, abortion or something? And I said, when I was 16 or 17, there was no possible way I was going to be pregnant at that time. But I said, thinking about when I was 16 or 17, like, who knows if I would have got one, if I would have got pregnant. It's like a hypothetical on a hypothetical, because like I said, I haven't been in the position to make that choice. But I said, like, I feel like in my head, the decision was going to be made clear because I'm not trying to be on 16 and pregnant. No shade. Those girls taught the country a lot. But, I was like, but now that I'm like way older, I feel like it's more of like a choice. Like I feel like I wouldn't get one at this time, right? But I never, so I guess like technically, like just by default, that makes me pro-choice, right? Because I said, oh, it's cool the option was there in case some shit went down. But at this point, I don't see it as an option, because obviously, like, I was in love with this guy, like, things were going good, and I was kind of like seeing a future, like something, you know what I mean? Like I said, I'd never been pregnant. I don't know, like, to this day, I don't know what my decision would be. Like, you just don't know until you're actually in the position. I don't know how I would feel. Anyways, I don't know why the fuck I'm getting a pedicure and this bitch is dumping me and talking about abortion, right? I am, like, extra confused. Keep in mind, I had just argued with my mom that morning. I was extremely stressed out. That was actually the worst fucking possible time, like, to dump me. But this bitch did not give a fuck, right? So then, but I'm glad he showed, like, his true colors, because imagine I did marry this guy and then, like, have kids with him. Whatever. Pause that thought. Okay. Let's just move on. Okay. So then he says, we have different values, like, on abortion. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I'm kind of like, huh? And I'm like, okay. Like, he says, like, so he never said his position on abortion. But from this conversation, my understanding is that he is pro-life, and he just hid that for a year and 9 months. Like, for no reason. But the other thing is, I mean, I guess I could go over, like, red flags in another video. But the one thing I will say is, like, we did have some disagreements on politics, which I know is, like, whatever. But, like, when I try to think about this stuff, he never said his position. What he said, which was probably the biggest red flag I'll say, is that he's like, oh, I feel like you're not gonna like my opinions if I tell you. And I'm like, how do you know I'm not gonna like them if you don't say them? So what he revealed from this conversation was that he was, like, fishing. So he was, like, trying to see what my opinion was so that he didn't have to say his opinion for 1 year and 9 months. Like, he just, like, skirted around his opinion, and he literally lied and said that, you know, I guess he lied and said he wasn't conservative. If I'm honest, I didn't mind a debate or different thoughts, right? I didn't. That's me being a dumb bitch, but I mean, you know, hindsight is 2020. So, and it's not even really hindsight, because I'm the one who ended up dumped. Like, I feel like I was compromising more of my, like, whatever. Anyways, he never said anything about abortion, his opinion. He just casually asked me offhand what I thought about it, and I gave the answer I said a year before this conversation. So I'm just, like, scratching my head, because I'm like, what does this have to do? But I can't say any of that because I can't breathe. So the only thing I could get out is, what values are you talking about? He said abortion was, like, the main one he was thinking about. And I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, I think that we have, like, so many different values that we would be arguing in front of the kids. So this is the issue that, you know, when I was talking to my family about how I got dumped, they were like, what kids? Like, everybody who I tell the story to is like, what the fuck kids are you talking about? So if we're not getting married, there's not gonna be no kids. And then also, like I said, there were no kids. There was no kid scare. There was no, like, there's no pregnancy. There's no pregnancy. There's no kids. So and then I'm just like, at that point, like, I can already just feel like my heart is just, like, broken. Like, I can't even speak. But I was just like, so I think it was kind of an understanding of, like, that you're a fucking liar. Like, I think that was the understanding, because I was like, you just wasted my fucking time. Because if he asked me about abortion a year ago, and I guess he didn't like that answer, or he knew he was pro-life, I like how I barely know what I'm trying to say. If he knew he was pro-life and that was, like, so important to him, with no fucking babies in sight, like no actual fucking babies, like, anywhere, then he wasted an entire fucking, like, honestly, he wasted like a year and 9 months, because I think he knew he was gonna hide his political views from the beginning. And I asked him about different stuff and he lied. So basically, in this conversation, he revealed he lied because he never revealed his actual thoughts on abortion. He just hid them once he heard mine. Didn't know that. And then it means that the conversation we had over a year ago, he knew at that point we weren't gonna get along. So then he just wasted my time, like, following that. So the only, like, thing I could really get out from this conversation was, I was like, you wasted my time. Like, you actually wasted my time. And he's like, I know, like, I know. I'm like, if you know, why the fuck did you do this? So I guess he said he was like, he had like a lot of downtime. He was like thinking about it a lot on deployment, I guess, right? That he just like decided like it's not gonna work. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but like, you already wasted my time. And then he was like, oh, where do you want to go from here? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm like, since this just happened, I'm like, do you want to be friends? Like, so he kind of asked me, like, where do you want to go from here? I'm like, you just told me you don't want to marry me. You don't want to have kids with me. Where is there to go? Like, because just like I said, there's a difference between kind of leaving it ambiguous and kind of seeing where it goes, and someone just saying like, no, like, you're not the one for me. So I'm like, okay, like, do you want to be just like friends or something? Like, I'm confused why he asked me the question, but I was just so, trying to cling on to just string, like, little pieces of straw. Like, I'm trying to cling on to stuff because it just happened. So I'm like, oh, let's just be friends. In my brain, I didn't know how I would feel later. I feel like we could not be friends at this point, but who knows? But like, at this point, I still have not, like, he has not spoken to me. I have not spoken to him. The only interaction that's been had since that day was that he was watching my Snapchat stories every day. And then once I got frustrated with him watching my Snapchat story, like, I realized, like, I was posting different things because I knew he was watching it. I just deleted him. And usually I'm like the person who's like, you're gonna watch me, like, you're gonna watch me like look cute and live my life. But it was like way too painful, like, this time. Like, I guess because honestly, usually I'm the dumper, not the dumpy, and now I got all my freaking karma. And now I actually feel bad for the people I dumped, because if this is how they felt, like, ooh, no, like, this is not it. Like, that was just like terrible. So so basically, okay, so basically at the end of the conversation, he's like, oh, I was like, I guess, do you want to be friends? He's like, yeah, but obviously it's gonna take some time. Like, I'm gonna need some time and you're gonna need some time. And I'm just like, okay. And then, like, we end the conversation. Bruh, let me just say that I was not paying attention to the news, right? I wasn't paying attention, like, not really, because I was so stressed out about moving, and I was stressed out about arguing with my mom and all this stuff. And then obviously I got stressed out because I just got blindsided by this dumping. Like, there was no lead up to this. It was just like, he just, like, I guess was ruminating, and the excuse or the reason he's gonna go with is like, oh, we have different values or whatever. So then a couple days later, I noticed that there is the Roe versus Wade was overturned. And then things started to kind of click together with, if this is the real explanation, like he just, like maybe he just like wanted to date somebody else or whatever actually happened, which I like kind of don't want to know. Like maybe at a later time I would like be ready for the real truth. But if what he said is true, he was provoked by this Roe versus Wade like overturning thing. And the funniest part is, as much as that affects me and could affect me, I wasn't even thinking about that shit because I was just so absorbed in the stressors of my own life that I was not paying attention. And it's so funny because everyone on social media was like doing all this stuff, and I guess like to my ex, you know, that was in the forefront of his mind and he was just like thinking about this stuff. And to me, I was just thinking like, my mom is driving me crazy, like I need to move out of the house, like I just like got out the military, like blah blah blah. Like there's like all this stuff, all these fucking wheels like turning and all this stuff, and this bitch is thinking about some shit that doesn't even fucking affect him right now, and it doesn't fucking affect me right now. I was so stressed out, like it's just like, it's just fucking crazy. And then like to think about, so I still don't know the truth of like what this breakup was about, like if that was the truth. The only thing I can go off of is that he literally said that it was like, he mentioned abortion. So then the only thing that could have provoked that was like, yeah, the Roe versus Wade that I was not paying attention to. Mind you, it is very important and it does like affect me. So like I'm glad that someone who has that attitude eliminated himself. But I'm gonna be honest, like I just have this issue where it's like just for once I just want to date a guy who doesn't eliminate himself, if that makes sense. Because all my exes, including this one, eliminated themselves by lying, which is the only thing I said not to do. And they all just lied like over stupid shit. I mean, not saying politics is stupid, but to lie about it for like a year, I think that's stupid. Like if you know in your soul that this is so important to you and we would just never get along. See, that's the other thing, is that I'm insulted by this I'm insulted by that conversation because I also am just like, so you feel so strongly about your beliefs that you're not willing to have a discussion about it or even bring it up, or you think that I'm just like so close-minded, like that there was never a chance. Like, so I think it's like too little too late, it's not gonna work, right? But I was also insulted, like it was like I was insulted in like 10 ways, because I was also insulted as like, you just assume, like the thing with like a lot of these guys and like the military guys too is like, they're just like, oh, you're from California, I'm so like intimidated. Like the thing that pissed me off the most about the military that I literally was talking about yesterday was like, everyone just like made these assumptions and just like ran with it. Like they were just like, oh, this girl's black, like, oh, I saw that you like Cardi B, and then they start like campaigning about like fucking Cardi B, like her political views and stuff, and I'm just like, can y'all go somewhere? Like, what does this have to do with me being at work? Like basically, like they would just like assume shit. It was weird, and Cardi B was like a really big part of it, and I'm just like, I do like Cardi B, but I was like, are y'all paying attention to other people like Kanye West or like Candace Owens or like anything? And I'm a big Kanye West fan, so I am insulted on another level because you did pick someone I liked, but you didn't pick like the people that I stand for. Like, so I was even more insulted because I was like, you didn't do your research. Oh, because they kept saying your favorite artist. Like, they kept saying your favorite artist is Cardi B. And I was like, I do like Cardi B, but it's gonna be Nicki Minaj or Kanye or like The Weeknd or like Big Sean or Ariana Grande. Like, no shade to Cardi B, I listen to her a lot, but it was just weird because they didn't ask me. They just started saying it, and it's like a political agenda thing. Anyways, this video is kind of going all over the place, but this is like the main part of where I'm saying like Roe versus Wade was affecting my relationship and I didn't even know it. This video is too fucking long, but I have more tea that I'm just like trying to spill.